probably slide behind the TV set if you want, because there's like.
Yeah, I could say, I was talking to, he wasn't.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So we're live, and then I'll hit this record button so everybody knows we're.
Yeah, when I was in Memphis.
That's your warning.
You got it?
Got a little administration.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, already. Everybody's gonna ask you.
Oh, no. Well, there's an escape exit. that way.
It's not nothing.
Oh, yeah. You take like that dissolves. Probably.
You're on it now.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Thanks for chatting.
Yeah, I've been meaning to try and catch up.
Okay. 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the August 3rd DeSoto City Council meeting to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Daniels?
Here.
Murdoch?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Lane? Here. Ritter?
Here.
All are present.
All right, thank you. I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item tonight is the consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes from July 20th City Council meeting, approved pay ordinance number 954, approved contract amendment number 3 with Blue Water Group for 82nd Street Sanitary Sewer Force Main Repair, approved contract for fire system monitoring services with KCFS, and approved parade permit for DHS Homecoming Parade. Is there any item anyone would wish to remove from the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Hatmaker,
Yes.
Murdock,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay.
Mayor, I need to excuse
All
myself.
right. Brandon, would you please note that Councilman Ritter's leaving the meeting?
So noted.
Item 1.5. Approve pay ordinance number 954A.
I'll make a motion, we approve pay ordinance 954A.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Hatmaker,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdock,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. All right. Moving on, item 2 is our call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. The comments that are received under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during this meeting. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 3 is old business. We do not have any. So we will go to item 4A, receive presentation from the Kansas Department of Transportation regarding road design for DeSoto projects.
Yes, council, again, here this evening is Paul Kulseth with KDOT, also representatives from Clarkson Construction and HDR Engineering. Give us an update on the design specifics, design parameters, and progress with the 103rd Street and Lexington Avenue improvements. So Paul, you know that PowerPoint, right? We'll
Yes.
start there? We'll do.
Yeah, so we'll start just a little brief. We've started this process. KDOT has been administering this project, and we had procurement late last year. We ended that in December, selected Clarkson Construction Company with HDR as the design consultant. Their team started in January. HDR submitted final design plans on July 17th. And that was the last package that's been received. So we are currently at 100% plans, obviously, with some of the earlier packages starting construction on June 9th, with really construction on 103rd starting on June 12th. So we're here to kind of go through the process, and if you have any questions, you can stop us along the way. You have the strip maps to go through. We have a few slides that highlight those areas, but if there's anything you want to touch on at the end, we can certainly go through that together. So okay. Looks like. So as I discussed, we've had some previous closures. The most recent one on August 1st, we closed the 103rd Street west of Edgerton. So that restricts access to the ballparks. So there'll be no access to Sunflower baseball fields through the remainder of the project. However, the information for these closures has been continuously updated through the city's websites, and then additional reminders and other things through the mailings and mailing newsletters and everything else. So we talk about that if we need to. But this is an example of the recent road closure map that we put on our website, on the social media site, so that we can get some message out to the public. As you can see in orange, we have the north half mile south of 103rd of Astor Parkway, the roundabout at Astor Parkway through Edgerton, and then west to Evening Star Road. Kevin will be talking about some of the specifics.
As Kevin Kellerman with Clarkson Construction Company, I'm the project manager. What you see up there is what roads we currently have closed, like Paul was saying, on Astor Parkway and 103rd, between basically 102nd or Stringtown Road all the way over to Evening Star Road, and then a piece of roadway west of Evening Star Road is closed to through traffic. Lexington Avenue is essentially only construction traffic from 95th Street down to the Panasonic site. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is kind of our phasing map that we've put together. Phase 1 there in blue, you can see that's what we've started on. We're working currently on Astor Parkway and 103rd Street between Astor and Edgerton Road. We've got a lot of grading work going on. We've got storm sewer has gone in. We're about to complete all the storm sewer along Astra. We'll be moving up and putting new storm sewer along 103rd in the next couple of weeks. By the end of the month, we'll put the new drainage structure that will drain from the south up to the north underneath 103rd Street. And then we began yesterday, on phase 2 with stripping topsoil, stripping vegetation, getting erosion control measures placed in order to start our cuts and fills in phase 2. And that will be the new alignment to the south and east of the existing Lexington Avenue to get the new new eastbound, northbound lanes built. And the timelines you see on there, we've actually started phase 1A2. We've been milling off the asphalt this week. That will be complete by the end of the week. The next step would be to remove the concrete pavement underneath that asphalt. We will hopefully get phase 1 complete by December of 2023. Phase 2 would follow the following month with January. That's the point where we'll switch traffic on Lexington over to the new pavement so that we can remove the existing Lexington Avenue pavement to start rebuilding that into the new westbound and southbound lanes. So everything's scheduled to be complete by December of 2024, with the sections for phase 1, 2, and 3 open by June of 2024. So, you know, the next slide. So Chad's going to talk about the design update.
So yeah, I'm Chad Hall with HDR. I'm the design manager on the project, working with Clarkson and KDOT to come up with the sections you've seen in the strip maps. I'll give you a little bit of a project overview on the next slide, and then we'll talk about some typical cross sections, both existing and proposed. We have a 3D rendering that you may have seen already. We'll talk about the pedestrian and bicycle accommodations that we worked through the process with KDOT and the city, and then the Sunflower Trail connection that was a request that we can kind of walk through. That's not part of our project, but will come in the future. And we've accommodated as it ties in coming down. So you can go to the next slide, Brent. So this is like an overall map, just to kind of give you an idea of the whole concept. The maps on the back wall are the strip maps that were provided. But basically, we're going from Evening Star Road, just west of Evening Star, along 103rd Street, a half a mile for Astor Parkway, and then up to Lexington, all the way up to 95th Street to tie in. And then we do have a roundabout at Edgerton Road with a few hundred feet of tie-in that ties into what the Flint development constructed coming from the south. The one thing to note is all of this will be 12-inch concrete pavement, mainline pavement, and then we do have sidewalks and bicycle paths that are made out of concrete too that we'll show here with a little more blown up view. But if you have any questions, let me know. But we've gone through the process of accommodating entrances as needed to work with developers like Flint and SRL and others along the corridor, 102nd Street, for where the new fire station may go, and then 95th Street tying into what the existing section is. So it's basically becomes a 4-lane thoroughfare with left-hand and right-hand turns as needed to accommodate future traffic growth. So this is kind of a view of the existing corridor. You can see the existing asphalt roadway that's like 3 to 6 inches of asphalt over 9 inches of existing concrete. This should be the old K10 corridor. 1 lane in each direction. You can go to the next slide, Brandon. I guess we had a nice little video. You can go to the next slide. This is where we're at today. So we have traffic on the existing lanes, still head to head. We are working to, like Kevin said, this is kind of a view just east of Astor Parkway that they just started doing. They're basically building the southern portion or future eastbound lanes, while traffic is maintained on the existing lanes. Mainly through this section is construction traffic going to Panasonic south of 95th Street. You can go ahead. Decided to show the cars movement. So, and then in the next phase, basically there will be another phase where we basically flip traffic, like Kevin mentioned. So basically, the traffic will then switch to the new lanes, 2 lanes head to head for right now, and then we'll build the other lanes to the north and west. Everything to the west of Astor is being built in full closure, so it allows us, a little more ease of construction. But we understand trying to get traffic to and from SRL, the Army base, and everything was important. So basically, we use that as a phase construction. This is the final configuration. So what you see here is 2 12-foot lanes made out of, like I said, concrete. We do have a 5-foot bike lane in almost all locations. The bikes are taken off the pavement through the roundabout for safety concerns. So they're put on the 10-foot trail and then back on the trail once they go through the roundabout. But throughout most of the corridor, you do have the 5-foot bike lanes as well. So basically a 29-foot section, eastbound and westbound. And then on the right, you see a 10-foot trail. And on the left, you see a 5-foot sidewalk. I always get it back. It's 5-foot sidewalk. But again, both built out of concrete for the entire corridor. There will be continuous lighting as well throughout the corridor. The roundabouts are lit, as well as the entire 4 miles of roadway that's improvements. There will be new LED lighting throughout the corridor once the project is
Will that be a
complete.
city system, or is that an extension of the KCP or the Evergy leased equipment?
I don't.
Evergy is the typical what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but these will be aluminum poles, not wood poles. So they'll be aluminum with the LED headlights. So, and right now the plan is for most of the locations to be a single line down the middle of the median with dual heads. And then the roundabouts, of course, will be on the exterior as you go around the circulatory roundabouts. So you could push, I think, the video of the traffic moving through the corridor. So all of the roundabouts have been sized accordingly. This is kind of a blown up version of Astor Parkway to kind of talk about the Sunflower connection. So as you can see on the screen, the upper side portion of the roadway shows the 10-foot sidewalk. On the south side, we also have a 10-foot sidewalk. But the item to point out is the Sunflower connection is potentially planned to come down Sunflower Road just to the east side. Knowing that that was going to come in the future, the portion between Douglas and Sunflower is on the north side is typically a 5-foot sidewalk, but that portion between there and Astor Parkway was widened to 10 feet to accommodate that trail, so that when the 10-foot trail comes south, it can be on a 10-foot trail. We don't have to add a pedestrian crossing at Sunflower Road near Panasonic's main entrance. You can come down to Astor Parkway, cross through safely through the roundabout, pedestrian crossings, get to the south side of the road, and then take the trail east-west as needed, and also cross there to get over to the park in the future. So you can come down Sunflower, go west to Astor, cross safely through the roundabout, and then to the west as needed and get to the 10-foot trail. So there is a small portion of 10-foot on both sides of the road, basically between Sunflower Road and Astor Parkway. So, but all the roundabouts and everything have been designed to accommodate future traffic growth through the corridor. So everything's 4 lanes, and then the roundabouts are at least 4. In some places here at Astor Parkway, we're anticipating heavier truck movements. We have actually a 3-lane roundabout instead of 4 or 2. So. Next slide. This is just a blown up version. As you can see at Sunflower and Douglas, you can see the transition from the 6-foot to the 10-foot, accommodating when that future trail comes down. Right now, the plan is for it to come down the east side of Sunflower Road. So that's why we connected it where we did and added the 10-foot trail between those 2 pieces of Sunflower. Any questions?
So I appreciate that. That's what I wanted to make sure of, was that we were set up for our future Sunflower Trail connection. So I appreciate that. The other piece that, so now this is going to create a continuous pedestrian path from 95th Street to our West City Limited at Evening Star. We're still going to have a gap from Commerce to 95th Street. That the project that we did through the winter. There's no provisions to close that pedestrian gap with any of this project.
Yeah, that's not, the scope isn't in this project. So due to the needs that were needed for the widenings of the ramps and mainline Lexington Avenue pavement through there to accommodate the increased traffic counts, that was the scope, was at the south terminal, the eastbound on and off ramps, the westbound on and off ramps, and then south of that to 95th Street. This project is then picking that up from 95th Street to the south. So
That's, I mean, it's unfortunate that we will have basically could have a connected city that we're going to, it's probably one of the more challenging spaces we're not going to have in place, you know.
So we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. Any questions from council? I appreciate your time. I appreciate the detail and the preparation for the presentation tonight. Thank you for taking the time to share.
I do have a question on the completion times. Why is it that the section from Edgerton to Evening Star is basically 6 months later than the rest? Why does it go to the end of 24?
So there are some utilities that need to be moved in that
Okay,
area.
that's the
Yeah.
constraint.
Yep.
Gotcha.
We have a relocation of Water
Some-
7 line through there.
Okay.
The other aspect is the critical traffic movements are from the Lexington Avenue ramp to the Panasonic site now,
Focus
right?
and
So
efforts in other
to try and
places.
get the amount of traffic counts that we receive to get them to move freely would be to get those 1, 2, and 3 done first. So 2 and 3 are on critical paths because they're phased, right? So you've got to get 2 done before you can get 3 done to move the traffic over. So the concentration will be to get those done while we're moving the utilities in 1A. So work's not going to just stop in 1A, right? It's going to continue on. So it's just the timing of some of those utility movements and other things had to be done too. So.
If there were a need for activity on the Flint property prior to the end of 24, can that traffic be accommodated on
So we've
commercial
been-
construction?
We've been working with the Flint Development for access discussions about entrances, and their building C is just in the northwest of that intersection.
But it's accessible off Edgerton Road.
Correct. Yeah, they'll be able to access off at Edgerton. So then part of their discussion was how they're going to be able to get trucks in and out, right, for their property. So obviously our construction is not finalized, not being finished until December. So they'll have time to get some things in and out of there. And then that's 2 13-foot lanes and a 5-foot bike lane on either side. So that's a 36-foot wide piece of roadway there. So we could still get traffic to and from with accommodation. But if they have access north-south, right, they can get in and out from the entrances that they'll build for their properties.
Mhm.
Yeah. But we're in communication with them as far as construction timing and access and things like that.
So during the construction phase, when it's closed up at about 102nd, access into Clearview City is off of Sunflower Road. But is there anything, and Rick, you may know this, anything from Lexington over to Sunflower Road that's accessible via residence, or is it, you cut through the school property, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
So
not
you can't
really.
cut through
It
there.
it definitely, those are all private roads.
Yeah.
Right, so
Okay.
you can get through there, but obviously we're not going to sign a
That's not
detour
part
around,
of the
right?
Detour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've put a changeable message board up for Clearview City residents at 95th Street, asking them to use 95th Street and Sunflower to get down to Clearview City, because we've closed the entrances along 103rd Street there to not conflict with the construction traffic for the Panasonic site. And we've got a changeable message board up there now, but we're in the process of getting some more permanent work zone signs that'll clearly say Clearview City with arrows pointing them.
Any other questions?
Feel free to reach out if you have more time to review the strip maps or anything you want to reach out to the project team. Be available for questions.
Thank you. Item B, discuss City Hall recycling plan.
All right, good evening. As the mayor just mentioned, bringing some information to you about the recycling dumpsters in the lower parking lot here at City Hall. We had a committee kind of put together to kind of discuss all the options. And Brandon, Bonnie, Mike, Joe, Martin, and myself. And I guess I drew the short straw, and I'm the one up here presenting. So currently, as you're aware, and this was discussed probably about a month ago or so with this group, we have recycle dumpsters in the lower parking lot. While they are used for recycling as they're supposed to be, there's also, it turns into a dump where we get trash, furniture, lawn bags, etc. And that becomes an issue in terms of visibility, and then also on my guys in terms of need to get down there and clean up a space. We looked at some different options. The first one was to move the dumpsters to another site without a gate. So basically the same situation that we have here, and came to the conclusion that, we're basically just kicking the can down the road, and all the issues would follow to the other side as well. Another one was to move the dumpsters to another site that's gated and monitored. In that situation, there would need to be a staff member there during open drop-off hours to make sure that the correct things are being recycled, or that we're not taking on trash. And then once the gated area was locked for the evening for the day, we were making the presumption that dumping would occur at the gate. So then it would kind of be like the situation we're in now. The other one was, the next one was to remove all the recycling dumpsters out of the parking lot. Keep the current requirement of every other week for the home service recycling. And and Randy's here, and he'll come up and speak here in a little bit. We gathered some information from him as well. Patrons are serviced every other week for recycling. If a patron cannot fit all their recyclables in that container that's provided by Honey Creek, they are allowed to stack boxes that are 3x4 next to it. Also, if they want to use a separate container, Honey Creek will pick that up as well. So basically stating that the option is there for if people can't fit everything in the dumpster, in the can that's provided, they can set it out to the side and it will still get picked up. The next option was requiring weekly recycling for those that have more than they think they can fit in their containers and want to put out on a every other week basis, which obviously there would be additional cost for that. We didn't think that was the way to go, because there are some people that obviously fixed incomes, but also people that don't generate enough recycling materials to make it worth it for them. The last one was to remove all the recycling dumpsters from the lower parking lot, keep the current requirement of every other week service, keep one of the dumpsters for city staff recycling. We would use the existing dumpster corral, which is right back here. We would have to actually enlarge that and make it lockable so that city staff could still, whether it's here or Public Works building or water or wastewater or wherever, city staff would still have an option for recycling. It would be in a contained, locked area in hopes that that we could still use it, but that it wouldn't turn into a dump site. So I'll just touch on some of the things, and like I said, Randy can come up here and talk too. Some of the things he mentioned in an email with Bonnie. That DeSoto is one of the few in the metro area that has recycling dumpsters for citizens. Douglas County has a few centers. They're having issues. They're considering closing them due to after-hours dumping, so they have the manned ones during open hours. A large amount of the cardboard put in the DeSoto bins is coming from Leavenworth County. And then also businesses and apartment complexes are not required to have recycled dumpsters. So the suggested motion is to remove all the recycled dumpsters from the lower parking lot, keep their current requirement of once a week service, educate the public about their home recycling options, and keep one dumpster for city staff recycling. The existing dumpster corral would have to be enlarged and made lockable. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, or I can stand here kind of to the side. But Randy's here, and he can speak a little bit more to the process. And he and I actually, and Bonnie had a conversation before the meeting that I think he can fill you in on some things that I didn't mention.
So on the drop-off recycling, we started that, I believe it was in 2006, and the city's never been charged for it. It's been a free service that we've done since 2006. And as Jay stated, we've had just tons of issues with contamination through the years. And so it's kind of, everybody's allowed by the Johnson County regulations that you can have unlimited amount of recycling. So It kind of, if they just put boxes, you mark a can, it says recycling out next to it, we will pick it up on the every other week principle. And the every other week service is pretty commonplace. I mean, all of Overland Park now with Waste Management does the same thing. Olathe does it, Lawrence does it. So it's pretty common to do the every other week service on that. Is there any questions you guys had about anything Jay talked about or?
So how do you know that a large amount of the cardboard is coming from Leavenworth County?
Because we've had so much contamination when they dump it on the floor at the MRF, which is the processing facility. A lot of the addresses that are stuck on boxes. Yeah, because a lot of it, we see so much contamination. And we've noticed just because we've had so many loads that we have to sort through when it comes in, because they do audits periodically as we dump. And we just see a ton of it from Leavenworth County. Because a majority of Leavenworth County does not have curbside recycling.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look out there today, there's a big mess.
There is. There's yard waste bags, trash bags,
was
as I
gonna
just
take
came
a
in this evening.
picture
Yeah.
I
And we
mean,
just picked it up this afternoon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just today it was picked up. So.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then question for you is on the idea of keeping a dumpster here for city staff recycling. Do we have like a recycling container in the gym area or at the pool or down in the community center? And would that, is it city hall in addition to just city staff?
Yes,
Okay, so it's all city
All
hall.
of the buildings and all of the staff is what I was kind of
Okay.
referring to. Yeah, we do have recycling bins spread out around the building.
And then how would what would need to happen to enlarge the dumpster corral? Is that,
Concrete pad, concrete slab, just extension.
is that a city staff? City forces do that or?
Probably not the concrete. We could probably do the fencing portion of it, but I don't know about that. I mean, I can't speak for Joe, but my
Oh,
guys.
Joe's gonna do concrete.
My guys.
I got a strong back.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I mean, that's something we could definitely get with Jimmy on and see whether that's something that can't be formed and poured. So
My guys don't have to keep up with
Okay.
doing it, but
Joe might have.
he might have.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, so you're gonna, you said the cardboard, you're gonna go to every 2 weeks?
No, currently the curbside recycling that we do here in the city is picked up every other week. So if you have excess like that doesn't fit in your container, if you want to provide your own container, if you want us to bring you an additional container, it's $3 per month. But if you mark on any trash can or anything and just write recycling on it, then we'll take that in addition too, because it's unlimited recycling. And far as cardboard goes, say you have a big piece of cardboard, we just ask that it's cut down, say to a 2 by 3 foot sections and set next to the recycling cart, and then we'll take it. Yes.
Do you prefer that be tied up in any manner?
Just if they just stack it next to it, it's usually the easiest, just especially for processing. We want it all kind of loose, but just as long as it's stacked. Yeah.
My thoughts are it's probably time that to end the service. It's being abused, and we're dealing with a lot more than that our staff's having to deal with it every day, and obviously it's
And
contaminated.
we come through
waste
during the
stream.
week too and pick up when
Right.
there's couches, chairs, other items
Yeah, the
out
other
there.
big items that end
Yes,
up getting
yeah,
dropped.
that people dump off. Yes, exactly.
Are there recycling that you pick up at any of the apartments or businesses?
Yes, there is a few of them that do have recycling dumpsters. Yes, but Johnson County code does not require if it's over a fourplex, they don't have to have it. So that's the Johnson County code that it's not required. So anything bigger than a fourplex, they do not have to have recycling. Yes, and businesses don't either. So it's completely up to them.
And if we take action on this, do we need to be clear, I guess, or are we being clear that does not include the Rotaries?
Well, I think that's another conversation.
Well, but it could be construed to be remove all recycling dumpsters. And that's, I guess, is that,
Our motion can say remove all Honey Creek recycling dumpsters. I
Yeah.
guess.
And then
okay.
leave theirs for the Rotary,
I would-
for the paper.
I would like to have that other
we're talking about
conversation as
keeping
well.
that one.
No, well, we're not talking about removing it now, but I think that we need to have that conversation with the Rotary Club, but
Okay, but not as part of this.
not as part of the, right.
Well, then I'll make a motion to remove all Honey Creek recycling dumpsters from the lower parking lot of City Hall. Keep the current requirement of every other week service to the community, educate the public about their home recycling options, and to keep one dumpster for city staff and facility recycling, and recognizing that the existing dumpster corral will have to be enlarged to make it lockable.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane. No. Hatmaker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item C, consider final plat for Astra Enterprise Park, second plat.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have before you is the final plat for Astra Enterprise Park, second plat. The first plat was just for the Panasonic site, and the second plat includes 4 additional lots. As I mentioned, lot 1 is for the current Panasonic site. 2 is for the water tower. 3 is for potential development, and 4 is dedicated to the fire station use. Lot 5 is also a development tract. There also is some tracts that will be dedicated to Johnson County Parks and Rec. That's mostly the shaded crosshatched areas will be dedicated to Johnson County Parks and Rec. Tract B, which is a pretty small one towards the bottom of the page, is just for the potential use of the railroad spur. And then tract C is a potential development tract. I guess there's still some discussion on whether or not there's some development use for that tract. It was initially shown as to be dedicated to Johnson County Parks and Recreation, but it has been carved out because there could be some use for development in that area, which would also help potentially contribute to improvements to 95th Street in that section of 95th Street. So with that, the Planning Commission did approve the final plat, and it is now before the City Council to accept the easements and right-of-way for Enterprise Park second plat. Also, the applicant's representative, Jim Anderson from Caw Valley Engineering, is here tonight. So if you have any specific or detailed questions about the plat and its preparation, he is available to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from council on this plat? A motion to accept or approve and accept whatever we want to make, whatever that.
Accept the easement.
Accept.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve the final plat and accept easements and right of way for Astra Enterprise Park second plat.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Walker,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hatmaker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Brad. Item D, consider amendment to financial advisory services agreement with Columbia Capital Management.
Yes, council. Jeff White's here with us. This amendment is to the agreement that was adopted by you in 2006. So anticipating large-scale financing with all the development. Jeff White asked that we present this amendment to you. Jeff, I don't know if you want to address the council about it, but seemed reasonable to me.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, everybody bails out when the finance items come up. I don't get it. So as Patrick mentioned, really 2 pieces of a modification of the fee schedule. One is to accommodate a structure that we may or may not end up using. We'll see with respect to current developments out there. The other is actually a change to reflect some change generally with respect to ongoing post-issuance bond compliance that is required of any tax-exempt bond issuer. You can see there's some strike-through language that's sort of what existed in 06 when we first wrote this, and that post-issuance world has changed pretty dramatically. So the scope of what we do to help the city remain in compliance with federal tax regs with respect to post-issuance compliance is reflected in the additional language that's there. Happy to take a super deep dive into post-issuance compliance. Very happy not to torture you. Just let me know what your preference is, Mr. Mayor. Happy to stand for questions.
Any questions from council? I would venture that something that's been in effect for 18 years probably is due for an update.
Probably needs an update.
17, wherever we are.
Mhm.
There's no questions or someone ready to make a motion.
Amendment number 1. Just that folder's name right here. I'll make a motion. We approve amendment number 1 to agreement for financial advisor services for the city of Bisbee.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Carmichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thanks. Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Jeff.
Item E, I'm going to ask that we table.
I'll make a motion. We table item E.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So we are on to item F, budget discussion.
Yes, Council. This is the latest installment of our budget discussions. I provided in your packet what will become the framework of the final draft 2024 budget. There's also a budget calendar. The very last page of that packet that you have there in front of you is the budget calendar. So as logic would have it, let's address the last page first. So if we look at where we are on our calendar, we actually align very well with the original calendar we set out for the 2024 budget early on in March. So here we are at the August 3rd council meeting. We are actually one meeting behind where we thought we would want to be in approving the publication for the 2024 budget. We're not quite ready to do that. We will have that information, have that action for you potentially at the August 17th meeting. But because we will be exceeding the revenue neutral rate, we have until August 1st. So we have all of August and all of September to hold the required public hearings and adopt the budget before it's due at the both counties, county clerk's office. So just general message there is that we're on target, we're on track with the general intent of that budget calendar. Tonight's information that I have for you is largely a kind of a refinement of the policy direction that we've discussions that we've had and directions that you've given in previous meetings. I have for you updated the most updated 5-year financial projections in your packet. This is my hideous spreadsheet that we're next year. This will be the last year you see this, as beautiful and wonderful as it is.
Because we approved software.
Because we approved software to automate this and to fully integrate this into a much more reliable system than our system of spreadsheets. But gaze upon it one last time. You have your 5-year projections, and these projections were updated with some final tweaks that we made to the budget revenues and expenditures, but more importantly, half of year's worth of data from 2023 that allows us to project out the remainder of 2023 and get a new starting cash positions for 2024 to project those 5-year projections. Again, the 5-year projections are aimed at moderating year-ending fund balance toward our funded policy, our financial policy, which generally indicates that we'll keep a 30% cash reserve in all funds, 30% of annual operating revenues. So don't want to belabor or brush over any specific thing that we want to talk about tonight. But I think the main bulk of what I do want to just reiterate, go through, there's a few new items in here to talk about, are the policy directive section. And this is my 7th budget, I believe, with the kind of the 7th time we've gone through this with kind of this format. where we have these policy directives table. So you've seen this before, and we've had a lot of these discussions before. So I want to kind of concentrate on that table here. It starts on page 5 of the document you have in front of you. I'll go through those. We'll hit any highs and lows, answer any questions, get any other feedback. Currently, for the next couple of weeks, Bonnie and I thought Bonnie was going to stick around, but that's fine. Bonnie and I are working on the state budget forms, which essentially are technically the budget. That's what you certify. That's what you'll sign. That's what we publish in the paper. That's what we're bound by law to follow. But obviously, we have these budget worksheets that go line item by line item, talk about our expenditures and our expected revenues. And so we have policy decisions that are largely based on those, not so much on the larger, more global state budget forms, but on these elements that we're looking at. So the first thing, just really a reminder tonight, these long-range financial forecasts, our policy has always been to be very conservative with the revenues on the low side and conservative with expenditures on the high side. And we have been consistently pleasantly surprised, specifically with sales tax revenues, far exceeding what we had budgeted in the past. And so this year we decided, with increasing levels of service demands on internal staff from an administrative standpoint, and just everything related to what we're doing in this environment of rapid economic development and growth impacting the community, that it was time now to be slightly less conservative with some of the revenue projections that we've used in the past, so that we can better align the revenues that we'll actually get with the services that we know we need to provide. So what we did, we make a conscious decision to be less conservative on the sales tax projections, and also notably less conservative for really projected years on the franchise revenues, because we know those will be a significant increase with electric loads represented by the Panasonic facility, even during construction. So during 2004, we've increased those pretty substantially, because we know there will be a big construction load from that. So that's the global story on those financial forecasts. Again, we've seen this table before. These are the inflationary factors we use to predict the projected years, 5 years, in this case, 25 through 29. 2024 here on this column is all ones, right? So because we've specifically projected those revenues on an individual basis for 2024, 2025 and beyond. Largely those revenues are inflationary factors that you see here on this. So all those 5-year forecasts are in the packet that you've received. The general, I don't want to put you through this. If you look at the charts on those year-end fund balance revenues, typically, they're moderating on a smooth level down toward the 30% of fund balance. The general fund looks goofy this year. I'm sorry. I guess I'll just go there. General fund graph, if you look at that, it looks very strange this year. And so you can see, if you take out this, the big bar here is projected 2023. So this is largely a result of some one-time substantial revenue streams we're expecting, specifically from the Panasonic project. There's a $1 million building permit fee, and there's a $1.2 million excise tax that we expect to be paid here within the next month or two. That's the reason that line the projection for 2023 is so high. We expect to take that money and spend it largely next year. So you'll see it moderate, the projections for 2024 moderate again. If you took this year out, this chart would look a lot like what we've seen in the past, was at a relatively high year-end fund balance with high levels of reserve, moderating toward this 30% fund balance reserve. So that's why that chart looks goofy. It's because things are goofy around here on the revenue side specifically. So that's the story on that. We can talk more about that if you wish, but I'll go ahead and move on because there's quite a bit to get through. Capital improvements, we had discussions at I think one of the previous meetings about the budget, specifically about capital improvements. I've made revisions to that based on that discussion. Most notably here, again, with the capital improvements, you'll see there's an inclusion of $87 million of capital projects that are really in support of economic development pursuits. Most of that, about $78 million, are the water and sewer treatment plant expansions. The rest have to do with construction of a new water tower and our portion of the financing for the road project that KDOT just presented. So that's really a glaring difference in the capital improvement fund, but we kind of have a good understanding that those are kind of one-off sort of things specifically connected to the economic development issues. The other thing about the capital improvements to point out is that we did make some adjustments to timing on the 83rd Street Bridge project, and we've adjusted the plan and approach for the downtown streetscape project. Now that's just essentially a major maintenance project for 2025 of $400,000. Remember, that was a multi-million-dollar project that kind of spanned over a couple of several years. So those are the major changes, and you can see I've noted those major changes in that policy spreadsheet. In terms of assessed valuation and mill levy, we had this conversation early on. Really, I think the first couple of conversations we had about the budget. Assessed valuations are 12.3% higher for 2024 than they were in 2023. Only about 1.7 of that is new construction. The rest is just increased in assessments, increased in valuations. So in response to that, we're able to again roll the mill levy back this year, continuing a trend that started in 2017 with mill levy reductions. A full mill reduction is proposed from 20.8 mills to 19.8 mills. And those break out, as you can see on this table, 12.3 mills for general, 5.3 for law enforcement. Debt service fund will be 2.2. So that's a total of 19.8 mill levy reduction. And that's how that looks graphically. Won't go really into revenue neutral or property tax lid concerns other than we will be exceeding the revenue neutral rate. The county clerk has established that rate at 18.527 mills for DeSoto, and we're going to be at 19.8 mills. So we will be exceeding that. That does require a specific public hearing on that, which we will hold likely the same council meeting as we have the public hearing for the 2024 budget. And we have updated, Brandon let me know today that we have updated the public information efforts that we formulated last year around that, explaining that whole thing has been updated on our website, and there will be a notice going out in the utility bills next month to that. So people will be able to see before they get the notice of public hearing and revenue rate notice in their, in the newspaper, they'll have that, they'll be armed with that information. So managing that, I think, as best we can. Wages, the next thing we talked about again, the 2024 budget includes a 5% wage increase across the board in all departments. Future projections include a 4% per year starting in 2025. So our pay structure, you remember we had quite a discussion about that last year, about the pay structure, specifically at the lower end. We made some adjustments to that. And we're continuing to need to be competitive in the labor market. Hiring is still difficult. Unemployment is still low. Inflation still has impact on, on the labor force. And then we also do expect an acute particular impact from Panasonic's hiring ramp up in 2024. So we do need to maintain competitiveness in the labor market. And just an informal survey of other Johnson County communities seem like rate increases 4 to 7% for this year. So that's what it is. And that's broken down. The consumer price index for this year is 2.4%. So the 5% will be broken into 2.4% cost of living increase with a 2.6% maximum merit option with a total 5%. 2023 and 2024 budget both have significant contingencies, and this is why that chart that I showed you on the year-end fund balance looks goofy. Because we had contingency revenues last year totaling for this year totaling $1.5 million. So we in the general fund are counting on a $955,000 building permit fee from Panasonic, and also about $600,000 of essentially pass-through costs for the consulting arrangement we have for the on-site building inspection program through IBTS. That's handling the on-site inspections and plan review. So you'll remember that total effort's about $1.7 million between the building inspection and plan review. And essentially it's a pass-through from Panasonic. So they submit to us some deposits. We use those deposits to pay that consultant until that's depleted. Then they submit more deposits. That'll happen it's already happened in 2023. It'll happen again in 2024, and we'll have to finish that up in 2025. So that $600,000 is essentially what we expect that pass-through cost to be. So that's contingency revenues. Contingency expenses, we have about $1.1 million of those. So you'll remember we hired a new building inspector that was budgeted for, well, it's in the proposed budget for 2024. We hired them just this month, so that has an impact to the bottom line there at $33,000. The $300,000 for consulting services with Mays and Shockey, they're helping us up communications and public relations, and also the EDC part. There's the $600,000 for the pass-through that we just explained, and then $453,000 for consulting services for communications. Why is that in there twice? I need to check on that. That's the same thing. I'm not sure what this 300. Regardless, the projection has 1.1 million. So similarly in the 2024 budget, we've got a total contingency revenues of $1.4 million. $500,000 we're saying other development related fees. So 2024, we think it's reasonable to expect the Flint development will be developing and paying excise tax and building permit fees, large planning fees for that. And also we just approved a plat for Astra that has a couple of building lots there. So contingency, $500,000 there, and contingency expenses, $900,000 that matches the pass-through building inspections, and then $500,000 just for, we don't know. It's for stuff that comes up. You know, we've had that discussion. And then the last thing on the contingency is the 2025 projections also show offsetting $350,000 amount for that, the final part of that pass-through third-party inspections pass on. So, that's it on the contingencies. How's everybody doing on?
One of those contingencies probably would have been GBA or that consulting group.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I need to check on that.
I don't know that totals up to that amount though, if you add, 'cause that's 900.
Yeah, this is wrong. That's in there twice, and I don't think it's in the total.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
it
take
is
the
either.
300,000.
It's that's out.
Take the 300,000
This is correct.
I don't know
Yeah.
if it's still.
The
quite
GBA
adds,
thing,
though.
Mayor, we
Yeah.
have in the capital improvements.
Yeah, that's right. It's not.
Yeah, it's in the capital.
It's already accounted.
Okay,
Right.
sorry about that. I think that's
Still
right.
Not quite right, but
It would have been 1186.
Yeah.
Check your math.
It's my spreadsheet.
if we had that new
That new
program,
software.
we wouldn't be having to do that calculation.
Maybe, yeah. Pause here while I make this note.
So, assuming that the consulting services come to 453, is that what the contract was that we?
That's
originally
current. That's the
started
current, yeah.
when we signed that
Yeah.
contract with?
It's between, yes, right.
More than, okay. I just don't remember it being that high. I was
It-
thinking it was like around 250.
It was
or
spread out
something.
over 2 years, so part of that will actually occur next year. I guess we could take that and split that. I probably should, just to kind of be more accurate about.
Well, and you might have
When
started to
those
do that and put
expenses-
the total in there. That might be why you have it.
It could be, no, I don't think I did, but that's spread between 2 years.
Well, I mean.
Or if you've already got it in there,
Doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't matter really,
Next one.
because we're budgeting then on the projected end of year 2024. So whether I show it here 23 or 24 doesn't impact that. It'll just make the year-end fund balance even higher, you know, the weird one that we've got on that chart. I don't like strange-looking charts, which I felt compelled to explain it.
and that's your life now.
I know, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so any more questions on that? Contingency stuff? Okay. On the staffing, we have 4 actually new positions within the 2024 budget. One's an additional building inspector we've already hired. 2 is actually not a new position, but it's to take Patrick's time here from 3 days a week up to 5 days a week. We're looking forward to that.
And that's also going from contract to full-time W-2 employee.
Patrick's he's a W-2 employee already.
You are now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when do you've mentioned some of the start dates for these others. When do you envision that conversion occurring?
The attorney, January 1.
January 1, okay.
Yeah. It's easy. We don't have to go out and search and hire and wait for him to give 2-week notice. Yep.
And interview and all that crap.
That's correct. Right.
Well, you have to talk to my agent. Just kidding.
So that happens January 1. The other elements that are in the budget are a communication and event assistant. So that'll be a $44,000. That's in the communications department budget. And then a utility clerk and a deputy city clerk, which actually we've also got approval to go ahead and hire that position as well. So we're going through that process now. In the following years, there's some language missing here, but these other 2 positions are shown in the projections for 25 and 26, but not in the 2024 budget. So an additional building maintenance foreman for this building, and then a planner or GIS specialist in 2026. So those are in the projections, but not in the 2024 budget. Vehicle equipment replacement program, we've talked about. We took one of our sessions and talked about that. You can see the new assets that we intend to bring on in 2024 for that. I won't go over unless there's a question on any of those that we can answer. Won't go over those in detail. So these funds, and another note I have here for myself, we've created these essentially asset management funds, community center, aquatic center maintenance fund. Those all continuing largely as they have in the past since we started them, with the exception of the technology fund. You see, it's a $172,000 fund now. Last year it was only a $34,000 fund. What we've done is in each department budget used to have funding for maybe a new computer or software or software licensing. Those were all in individual budgets. We think it's a better idea to put all those into a single fund, a technology fund, and have transfers from the departments into the technology fund. So essentially that represents all of the total technology expenses for the whole city. They're now just in one fund. So that's a little change in approach there. The other one that I didn't get narrated in here that I will is we have on the budget worksheets and in my budget projections included the property tax relief fund at a $25,000 level. So that's a fund we will establish in 2024. The budget expense will be there. And we will then need to look and think about a policy on how to implement that. And there's a lot of things to discuss in there. But for now, let's get it in the budget so that we have that opportunity to have those discussions next year. So it's a $25,000 allocation. I don't know. I don't remember if was that discussed. I don't remember discussing that particular amount.
The amount was discussed.
That sounds good, or if that doesn't sound good.
We didn't formally,
The amount was discussed, the qualifications and process
Yeah.
were not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't come up with that amount on your own, Mike.
Okay, good. I was hoping that was the case. But it warrants quite a discussion.
It
It really does. And so I think the narration here will be, we're going to put it in there as a placeholder so that we can have the discussion. You know, we're not going to allocate any of those funds until a policy's set. Yeah, right.
Mike, on your technology fund, we don't have a city IT guy. Do you have one person that you go to, or do you?
Yeah,
have
no,
so many different-
there's a company, but it's the same guy every time.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've had, for a long time, we've had a contractual relationship for IT services. And so there is one, it's a company, but they send the same guy out.
Okay.
We've been real happy with it.
And they're able to do all of it.
A variety of things, yeah. So this isn't all him, though, obviously. This is purchase of new equipment as it
Right.
wears out, it's software licensing.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a lot of stuff.
yeah, I get that. I just was kind of curious as to how much we spend a year on just, hey, I need the IT guy to come over and
Yeah,
help or get this done, or
I can get you, we can get that number
just
for you.
curiosity.
Then
I don't have it off the
Bonnie's
top.
kind of the IT coordinator.
Yeah. If she was here, she could answer that off the top of her head, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably.
I can follow up with that, Lori. You know, the best thing he's done for us is the whole, the security part. You know, that, I mean, there's massive, you know, pitfalls there if you fall down on your
Right.
security with the ransomware stuff, and he's just.
Yeah, yeah. But
Credit.
that was kind of my thought is that, you know, because of so much issues with technology and just what you're saying, all the updates and security and having as many computers, and that's expanding by having more staff and, you know, just curious as to, you know, if that is going to be enough, and, you know, is that something that would need to grow in the future as you're adding new staff? Everybody needs
Yeah.
computers and.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sure contracting it out is still probably the best way to go as far as than having somebody hired by the city, but.
Yeah, I think we're much better off for a long time.
I'm sure, yeah.
It'll be a long time before we can.
Well, you'd hate to have somebody that kind of comes and goes a lot in that position. It's nice that you have the same person that comes
Yeah.
a lot, you know, in the same
Yeah,
company.
he's been, 5 or 6 years now, probably. Okay,
That's it, thank you.
okay. The road maintenance, if you look at our road maintenance budget for 2024, it's at $750,000, but that's because we're deferring some road maintenance this year so that we can do it next year, because, you know, we have a particular neighborhood that we'd like to do all at once rather than doing half of it this year and go back to half of it next year. So it's higher than otherwise. It'll decrease. It has been $550,000, you know, in previous years. It'll drop back to that level conceivably next year unless we make another decision. But it's artificially high this year because we're not spending it next year because we're not spending it this year. Yet another reason for that high peak in our fund balance that we're projecting this year. The franchise or the revenue funds. So we have the sewer fund. We're projecting a sewer rate increase next year of 4.5%. Year-end fund balances are pretty stable in that fund. Obviously, you know, as we go to expand that treatment plant, reconstruct that largely in 2024, bring that on 2025, the sewer fund budget will have a whole new. Obviously, we'll need to take a comprehensive look at everything associated with that because we'll have a whole new plant to keep up. Water fund has suffered some fund balance declines lately, last year and this year. We've articulated those in the past. They're largely due to increases in chemicals and utilities for the department. Overtime in the department last year was a problem because we had some well capacity issues that have lingered into this year too. So the fund balance has taken quite a hit in the water fund. And so as a result, we are decreasing just for a one-time basis some of the transfers from the water fund into the general fund that we've otherwise done, mostly for, there's a couple $100,000 for some administrative services that we're foregoing for 2025 to keep that fund balance healthy. And then in 2026, we'll restore those, or I'm sorry, 25 will restore those to previous levels. In addition, we've reduced the debt service from 390,000 down to 250,000, the debt service transfer from the water fund into the debt service fund, largely because of the health of the debt service and general funds to account for that. So that'll still maintain the year-end fund balances in a positive position. Again, similar message in the water fund. It's going to look a lot different after we update that facility and also have the much larger water demand, 2025 and beyond. We are also projecting larger revenues in 2024 because there's 3 batch plants, concrete batch plants out there. One will be stood up by Clarkson, and 2 of them on the Panasonic site that are going to generate, have a lot of water demand and generate higher revenues as well. So the revenues have notched up a little bit. We're proposing a 4% rate increase in 2024, followed by another 3.5% in 2025. So it's almost certain that we'll need to do those. So we may even look at those. Typically, we look at those toward the end of the year. We might need to do that in the fall this time. Expenses for the 2023 are about 4.5% higher than 2020. I'm sorry. Expenses in 2024, this is a misprint. It should say 2024, are 4.5% higher than this year due to increase in chemicals and utility. And we are purchasing a dump truck for the fund. So that's the water and the sewer. Law enforcement fund. I think we've said before, the law enforcement contract is I know there's 2 of you in the room. I'm glad you're here, guys. Maybe they can answer any questions. No, last year, Sheriff Hayden implemented some pretty significant pay increases generally for the Sheriff's Department because of trouble they were having filling those positions, and the Board of County Commission was pretty clear that those costs also need to be passed on to the contractual agreements that they have, and so they're doing that. The sheriff's contract is going to be about $735,000 compared to just under $600,000 this year. So correspondingly, revenues need to increase. So that's why the slight increase in the mill levy for the sheriff, law enforcement. The debt service fund, there is $6 million in GEO debt for 2024 for various elements of the CIP. Also, you'll see in the debt service fund, there's a $78 million bond for the water and sewer plant expansion projects. That might or might not happen. It's just yet to be determined in the finalization of the development agreement around Panasonic and Astra. But for now, those expenses are in the debt service fund with corresponding revenues that offset, that do not come from city mills, that do not come from any other city source other than Panasonic or Astra. So the debt service mill levy is reduced from 2.6 mils last year to 2.4 mils. Similarly, in the refuse fund, we're going to have a rate increase to keep that fund healthy, not necessarily for 2024, but for projections into the future. So,
on debt service fund, is that first sentence read right? There will be $6 million general obligation debt issues plan 2024 to find various elements
Fund. Sorry.
Of the applicable improvement.
Oh man, of the capital improvements
Capital.
plan.
Okay.
Okay. I got some notes to take.
Brandon, keep them.
I did not give this to Brandon before to.
That's a mistake.
That was a mistake. Capital. Yep, thank you. Okay, that was all I had intended on presenting this evening. Of course, if we want to talk about any of those or any other further directions, any questions about anything we didn't talk about, happy to go over those. The projections are there, the line item budget worksheets are there. What we'll be doing in the next several months is doing those state forms so we can publish, and filling in the narratives. If you look through a budget book, we have little narratives for each fund to tell you the basic components of that. So Bonnie and I will be working on those elements for next time.
Any,
There was
Go ahead.
one other typo that I didn't mention as you were going through. It's on number 3. Starts right out DeSoto instead of DeSoto. DeSoto's total.
Thoughts? I got the space.
And then at least you got the space. On salaries and wages, I think you say basically you've got a 5% wage increase this year. If you scroll down to that, 5%
Yeah.
this year and then going to 4%. And it's kind of phrased as you're budgeting around what raises are going to be. 4%. So
Yeah, 4% annually
4%,
thereafter.
included an annual 4% increase. So it's as if you're budgeting it around raises. My suggestion is for you to think a little bit about, I assume salaries and wages are a chunk. You're not budgeting per position. So I think you need to think about a salary and wage escalation that's not really based around wages, but could be a number more like 8 or even 10%, because if you have any turnover at all, you're probably not going to be able to backfill that position for the same thing you're paying for it right now. Probably need to allow for a certain opportunity, whether it's used or not, of market corrections like we did earlier this year. If you get into a situation where you may need to make a market adjustment on a particular person or a particular set of positions in order to retain staff. And it's not to say that whatever number you put in there as an escalation is what raises are going to be. But I think you need the flexibility in today's market to be able to accommodate. Like I said, any position you backfill is probably going to be backfilled at a higher pay rate than the person who left. So just to give yourself a little bit of flexibility in that.
Yeah. Remember, we brought everybody up to a comparable level already, so
A
there
year
shouldn't
ago.
be that much difference.
Well, but
We're seeing in the engineering industry, so some of these market adjustments are looking at quarterly. So we're evaluating our staff every quarter on what the market rates are out there. We're seeing wage change go so fast, and I don't think you're going to see that in city. But it wouldn't surprise me if there weren't some key positions, whether it's in public works or whether it's Brandon or whoever it may be, that the wages are escalating for those positions out in the marketplace fast enough that we better keep up.
And just a more conservative approach to the projections.
Right. To give yourself some flexibility within the budget.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking. That way you're not bumping up against, well, we're exceeding our salaries and wages budget, but you have a little bit of flexibility. Doesn't mean you need to spend all of it. But particularly if you get into an out year, and, I think you're being conservative is probably not the right word. You're probably underestimating that you can dial raises back to 4% in a year. I don't think you're going to be able to do that. I think you're going to be looking at 5 or 6%.
so you're kind of on the same line, just kind of allowing a little bit more leeway, really. A little
That's what
bit
I'm
extra
saying, just
gap
to
in
allow
there.
leeway.
I mean, you probably can't put it necessarily as 5%, I mean, right now because you have it as a certain amount and then there's the merit part of it, there's a little bit of flexibility, but my guess is most everybody could give a 5% raise. So you want the wording to be a little different because you don't, but if you allow yourself a little bit more salary increase, just for the point of, if you lose one staff member, that it's going to take.
Yeah, so instead of saying annual 4% increase, it's really a escalation of salaries and wages overall. Could be up to this.
Could be up to a certain percentage.
Understood.
Yeah, I think you're going to continue to see a lot of issues with wages for a while.
Yeah. And this doesn't.
And then it's a compression issue, you know, when you bring up those lower ones and you've got that compression, then the upper ones have to start to move as well. You bring somebody in who's a little bit higher than somebody who's been around here for 4 or 5 or 6 years, then you've got to increase theirs. And
Yeah,
and
we
that's just,
struggled- we
that's
struggled
real
with
life
that.
now.
Yeah, we struggled to address that last year. Yeah. So the projection's one thing, right? We can be less conservative to make sure that, you know, we give ourselves. But I think maybe some of what we're getting at is, you know, within kind of the pay plan that we've established, we don't just have this hard cap limit that even in an individual budget year, we have the flexibility to adjust some of those. Not that everybody's entitled to it, but there's
Right, it's not.
flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want it worded where it looks like across the board, everybody's
Right.
going to get 7% increase,
Yeah.
because that's not the point of it.
That's not the point.
The point is that if Brad leaves, but you need to replace him and it's going to cost you more, that difference is already kind of figured in there.
Okay. That's good. Good feedback. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll have more next week, next meeting.
Next week.
Not next week. 2 weeks.
Item 5, executive session. Personnel first. We're gonna have 2 tonight.
We have 2, right?
Personnel and then attorney-client. So
How long on
Personnel.
10 minutes, 15 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 or 15?
15 minutes.
13.
Okay, 15.
Make a motion to recess into executive session at 8:18 for 15 minutes to discuss city administrator performance evaluation pursuant to statutory basis, non-elected personnel, KSA 754319B1, with the open meeting resuming in council chambers at a return time of
8:33 is what I have.
8:33.
I'll second the motion.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So for the room, I'm gonna mute All right, we're back.
All right, it's 8:34. We are back in the regular session.
You should tell those people.
I'll make a motion that we recess into executive session at 8:35 for 20 minutes to discuss proceedings regarding easements pursuant to statutory basis, attorney-client privilege, KSA 75-4319B2, with open meeting resuming in the city council chamber at 8:55.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not me to do that, sorry.
Okay. Restroom break real quick if you guys need them.
Good man.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon. You're welcome.
All right, I've got 8:55. We are back in regular session.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city administrator, the city attorney, and outside counsel Tim Orrick to take reasonable measures to protect city's easement interest in the Sunflower Road utility corridor in connection with Evergy's currently pending eminent domain proceeding in Johnson County District Court.
Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Are you call roll when you are ready, Brandon?
So, Mayor, I probably need to recuse myself.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You would just.
Thank you, Kevin.
Staying call vote.
Let me get that recorded and then we'll be ready to go.
Do you have that language?
Yes.
Okay.
Patrick sent me over the motion. Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hatamaker,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We'll get Councilman Ritter back, and then someone want to make a motion on personnel matters. Kevin, you want to do that too?
Is it with regard to the
Personnel?
increase?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to increase the compensation for the city administrator by 8% from its current amount, retroactive to the July 15th contract start date, June 15th contract start date.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Hatamaker,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, council.
Advisory reports, city administrator.
Nothing to report this evening, Mayor.
Okay.
For any questions?
Any questions for city administrator? All right. City attorney.
Nothing for me.
Thank you. City planner.
Nothing.
City engineer.
KDOT kind of took the wind out of myself.
Assistant city administrator.
You know, I told, Whitney asked me to get the Encanto thing on here and now I don't remember what the date is. I'm trying to pull it up.
Oh, the next movie in the
Yeah,
park?
Next movie in the park.
Encanto,
Yeah.
Saturday night.
This Saturday night?
Saturday night
Saturday night, perfect, sounds great.
at 8:45.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 8:45, but
50% chance.
50%.
Somebody keep an eye on.
Yeah, 50% chance of it.
Well, I understand that.
that's
All
all I
right.
have.
Good report. Council comments. Danny, anything for the group tonight?
The only thing I have to say that, appreciate the work that the city streets, department did along Cedar Creek. We had many trees down on the roadway blocking, one lane of traffic, and the city crews, with their big dump truck and their equipment come out and cleaned everything up. So, we all appreciate it that live down that road.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Kevin?
That's all.
Kevin?
I don't have anything I can ask him from you.
All right.
Thank you.
Rob?
Nothing tonight.
Lori?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Donna.
Kevin? All right.
It's all up to you.
I'll just do one thing, just real quick. The Burger King grass. Anybody notice that?
Oh, yeah.
That's it. I didn't even have to say anything. The our codes enforcement is already in process and that will, their clock runs out tomorrow, so they'll either have it mowed or we will mow it for them. But that, our codes group was on top of that and will be taken care of. And that's all I got.
Great. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.
Okay, Brandon, you want to show me something here?
Yep, hold on, let me save it.
Okay. Like around Waverly.
We're still on those, so.
Right ways mowed out in our neighborhood. so.
Okay.
Well, from my house,
Yeah.
there's a right way that needs mowed because I can't, I mean, we